country. The Green Party of Canada is not just about environment, even though environment is a good part of these elections, but we also concern about other issues in our community, especially in my riding, the question of poverty, for example, the question of crime and gangs, and lack of hope, especially for the youth in our riding, and the question of haves and have-not. And so I think that those ideas are very important. I think that building a bridge in Cattle Islands is another thing that is important to people. Green Party of Canada is devoting $3 billion for the next 3 years. That's to build our cities, our infrastructure of our cities. And not only that, we don't stop there. We even spend another $1 billion on an annual basis for the next 3 years on transportation and the means of transportation, and which is important to our community. I think that the roots of all the problems in our community, in any community, when you see there are rising crimes and there's more gangs and there's a question of prostitutions and all kinds of social problem we see is hidden under one major issue, and that's the question of poverty. If you don't solve the poverty and postpone it or ignoring it, you are all pay. The whole community will pay. The rich pay, the poor pay, the community pays. So at one point, we are all. So the question of social responsibility, that the Green Party of Canada is the party who cares about people, who says people are first. And when we talk about people, we're not talking about those who have. We talk about everybody. And those who do not have even have more, we actually should be even more interested, because these are the people that somehow, for some unfortunate and being privileged and all that, they have left, and we have to bring them into this community and be part of this process of growth and prosperity. So I'm asking the question simply, if it costs about an average about $75,000 to $80,000 to keep one person in jail in our correctional facility, well, all right, you're going to pay $80,000. Why don't you give him $5,000 or bring $2,000 to these families and say, listen, start a small business. Maybe buy him a computer, maybe buy him something that he can start a home business type of thing, and give him support, put them with the specialists, people who are, there are a lot of good volunteers out there that they try to help these kids. But the question is that they need you have to have some seeds money to start this project. So the question is, we are willing to spend $80,000 on the same kid, put him in crime school. I'll call that crime school. That's correctional school that we have, or correctional facility, rather than come and say maybe we should train them or bring some hope to them by opening small businesses and taking care of them, or even get them a job, or find out the ways that they like to bring their talents out, the real talent, not the talent of gangsters, not the talents of killing and self-humiliation. This is not what it is. So here is the priorities that we have to look at, and that's the issue that we have. And I think that get tough on crime is really we have to get tough on poverty and try to remove that stigma in our community. So let's look at what we are doing nationally and internationally. We are now today involved in a war, in a war that is not wasteful. People have not been consulted about what is the objectives and if you support that war or not. I mean, conservative liberals got together, they went to the war without knowing where they're going, and by their estimate that is not even out yet fully, $22 billion. That's a lot of money we have spent on this war. At least hundreds of our best soldiers, devoted people who believe on Canada, they win and they have lost their lives. And I cannot how to answer that little 5-year-old girl who says, I want my daddy, and the daddy is not there anymore. And we have to say, okay, what we have gained, and what's the net benefit of all of that? Even by British generals who finally came to say we cannot win that war. And now Mr. Harper says, all right, another 3 years, spend there $22 billion, and maybe, God forbid it, but other hundreds of our soldiers by the same statistics that we have there, and then we get out regardless of what the outcome is. The question is, why we don't learn from the histories? Let's look at the background. Why we go to the water that is not safe? Why we go to the places that is not really supported by our population? I think that Canada stands for peace. And therefore, we have lost our credibility. We have lost our soldiers. We have lost a lot of funds in this war that is not defined, that is extension of Iraq war because of, so I think this policy of George Bush, McCain, Harper is not a Canadian way of life. So that's absolutely not acceptable to us. We should not only protect the big corporation. I think that we should create an environment that the small businesses can have an access to the loan, getting the loan that they need for expand their business, make sure that the government has a responsibility to take care of this. And I think this is, rather than only the corporation, as I mentioned, $50 billion, we are giving away a tax cut to the corporation. I think that, well, 10 corporation, 15 corporation, 20 corporation. What about 2,000 small businesses? What about 4,000 small? That's 4,000 families versus maybe a few. So the backbone of economy should be small, medium-sized business. And these are the people who have families. These people that have needs like anybody else. And again, the question of environment issues that we talk very extensively in our packages here is about the right of us to have a clean air and good water, clean water. And I think that is something that is, the problem in the future is not only the gas and all that, the water becomes an important issue. Are we prepared for that, to clean our environment, to make sure that our generations are not poisoned by environmental? And the cost of prevention is much less than the cost of cure. People are worrying about their pensions. They worry about their investment. I think today in Canada, ask those seniors, and I met a few of them. I go door to door, talk to people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to one of those events in a half an hour or in about an hour from now. And I think what is in their mind is, what they can leave for their grandchildren, what they can contribute to the education of their grandchildren. As a business person, I would say that I have to really call all the bankers, all these banking institutions here, and I really wanted to see where our funds are, where the money are, who's investing where, how volatile are their market, how secure are their markets, what they have, in other words, do a little cost-benefit analysis where we stand and be very frank to our people. Tell them exactly what it is, and ask the central bank to take a lead on make sure that our economy is. I know that is going to happen to us, but the question is if we prepare ourselves for that. So make sure that there are enough protection against this, unfortunate things, or hurricane that is coming. Financial hurricane is no different than the natural hurricane. Then we might have a chance. I think the success of Green Party in other countries shows that they are now part of the government, they are very progressive, and therefore I think Canada, this is the best option available for us. And when in my debate, I usually talk about, I say, listen, today we have heard of all. There's a conservative, liberals, and NDP, and you have tried them all too. And now, one more liberals, one more conservative, one NDP really doesn't make any difference. But one more green, two more green, five more greens in that parliament, it makes a difference for whole Canada. That's why we're looking at it. We're looking for a change. When other parties talk about the changes, they talk about change in power. Shifting from liberals to conservative, back and forth, back and forth. It's like a boys' games, and soccer's game. I think when Green Party of Canada talks about a change, we talk about change in values, change in our way of life.